and welcome back to this week's episode of the Broken Kid Podcast. Today I wanted to talk about something that was on my mind with the release of the Fantastic Four movie. I know it's been about a few weeks and that everybody's been thirsting over, the Silver Surfer and, whether Johnny Storm is ever going to get to bang a piece of steel or whatever the hell, or silver, whatever the hell it is. But here I am, what about Galactus? Has nobody thought about Galactus? Imagine being a Nexus being, the only one in the universe. Like, how the hell are you gonna let loose? What are you gonna do? Like, when you're that huge of a man? Imagine because they always talk about Hulk having a bigger wiener, right? And like how he must have, like, what is it like for him to have sex? And that's the thing. How does Galactus do it? Does he have all the privacy in the world because he's up there in the galaxy alone? Can he wink alone? And the answer is probably, he probably has to be careful, because if he busts one, it's probably like two cosmos colliding, and that can't be good. And a lot of people overlook Galactus as just a guy who's big and brawny and always wants to eat the world. But what if there's more to the guy? Nobody ever asks the guy if he wants a quick. And I think that's really inappropriate, because he's Galactus and he only has to eat food. What about everything else he needs, like sex and love and, what the hell? But I don't even think that guy cares, because honestly, all he cares about is eating planets. But wouldn't you care about eating planets if you needed them to survive? So that's kind of the funny thing, if you ask me. But I was just talking about that, and I thought, how does a man like what happens when he does need to take a shit? Does he not take a shit? Because if he does take a shit, that's a pretty massive shit. And when he sneezes, that's like a tsunami right there. That in and of itself, those two things I just nutting, snotting, and shitting in and of itself could be a whole nother natural tragedy. Yet we're all just worried. Is he gonna eat the planet? What about the planets that he decides to take a literal shit on? But a lot of people, I was just wondering, how many people find him attractive, because there's fandom out there, and I'm sure for Galactus, it's probably something with Reed Richards grabbing his Richard. He was grabbing, or he's stretching it, he was stretching him out. And what if Sue Storm was not there? What else would he have stretched? His we just have to be careful. But Galactus, there's a chance that he's a freak, because the guy who played him did a very good job at making him look nasty and oily and soiled from the face. And you just have to wonder, is there a female Galactus? Is there someone who's just as big as him who's willing to take it from him? And I mean literally give a pounding? Because if not, it must be a pretty lonely life if you think about it. And that's the tragedy of life right there for Galactus.